This is probably how your garage looks in your dreams. Screaming, hyperactive machines of legend that ooze the sort of power only God himself could wield before them. Both in the ability to make speed limits a myth, and the ability to fill out the little box on your insurance claim to say, well, how did he die? When we say the word motorcycling to people who don't understand motorcycling, this is what they see. 175 horsepower, 175 kilos, and 175 ways to meet St. Peter. These are the stuff of dreams because we dream that we have both the skill and the ability to tame them. Then you wake up and you remember two things. You aren't skilled enough and you have a life. A 9-to-5 job, the statistically correct 2.75 children, a house in a street named after a native flower, and the only thing in your driveway is a 5-star safety rated Volvo. And not your mother, your brother, or your significant other is going to let you throw that beautifully manicured leg over anything resembling a squid missile. Solution? This. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the CFMoto Papio Racer, a 125cc scale superbike that, much like your ATAR, has absolutely no use in the real world. It's not fast, it's not practical, and I love it so much that off one press photo from Malaysia, I bought one. Just look at it. It's great. It's hilarious, and we're going to take it for a lap. And we're going to tell you why you need a mini bike in your life. But first we're going to go and get what the Mr. Flyer calls motion lotion, because I have none. And we're going to see what it costs to fill. I've done 123 Ks from when it was new. CFMoto claims up to 350 Ks on a tank. Now, I don't know who's riding it at that point. Probably no one, it's just riding itself. But it ain't gonna do 350 Ks to a tank. Not with my 105 kilo, 510-ish frame on it. Just a fact. But as we're gonna see in a second, it doesn't really matter. 7-Eleven! Why don't I just add this thing gets an immense amount of looks. And full. 5 litres. It's a CFMoto! Have a good day! Like I said. Okay, so you might have guessed by that intro, I'm obviously joking. I'm not suggesting this is a replacement for a superbike. It's a 125 with 9 horsepower. What I am suggesting though is for the everyday person that either doesn't want to ride a ridiculous superbike, has scoliosis like I do, or has a significant other that seems to think that they don't want to fill out a life insurance claim in the next 48 hours, but you still want to get out with your mates on a track and on something that absolutely snaps necks. This is it. Whee! Don't go! Ah! The simple fact of the matter is, this bike is $4,300 brand spanking new, with 3 years warranty, fuel injection, on the road, ready to go. For that money, you and your friends could go down, grab one each, they make a little supermoto version as well, head them down the road, ride them every day if you really wanted to, take them to the track. There are local go-kart tracks that do mini bike and supermoto nights, and you can get on full leathers, 10 horsepower, and live out your absolute knee-down yammy noob fantasies for as long as you want on something that can't break the speed limit, can't break your legs realistically, and can't break your mother's bond with you about riding a motorcycle. Ooh, RSV4. And at that price, at this size, and at these looks, it is literally just to have a bit of fun on. I don't think, unless you're really in the city, which I'm not, as you can see, I don't think it really serves a purpose as a commuter. For me, my commute's 60 Ks. It's not really viable at 100 kilometers an hour, especially with my 5'10-ish, 105, 110 kilo frame on it. It doesn't really want to do 100 Ks an hour all the time. But it's just fun. That's all it's for. And if you remember that, that's all it'll ever need to be. It's just hilarious. But in saying that, what we've got is a 126 single cylinder engine, which is remarkably smooth, actually, I have to say. 9.3, 9.6 horsepower, something like that, 7 newton meters of torque, allegedly to 109. I'm not sure about that. Maybe on a downhill with a stiff northerly up your freckle. He's laughing at me. We've got a lot of Commodores in town this weekend. But at those numbers, it's just hilariously fun without being able to hurt yourself. It's that simple. My whippersnipper has more capacity, more horsepower, and more ability to hurt me. Otherwise, it's surprisingly stable. I mean, I'm doing 45 Ks an hour, no hands. I have done 100 Ks an hour on it once, I'll be honest. And it was great. 12-inch wheels, not best friends with potholes, but that's about all you can say about it. It's more than happy to stand upright. It's more than happy to lay over the side of the tyre. For $4,300, you get ABS front and back, fuel injection, 6-speed, LED everywhere. What more do you want? Now, yes, if you live in a city, it's absolutely true. You could use the little Papio as a commuter bike. I don't live in the city. I live in a little place called Bathurst. And that means that I've got something a little bit more special. Ta-da! This, ladies and gentlemen, is Mount Panorama. Now I said there was lots of Commodores here this weekend. This is why. What we all know and hate about Mount Panorama is 11 months of the year, it has a 60 kilometer an hour speed limit. Yes, I know. But what I want to point out with a little bike like this is that I don't have to be breaking the speed limit to have fun, to get a knee down, to get lent off the bike. I can put this on a go-kart track, and I probably will, but for everyday use, it's just hilariously good fun, as I shall now demonstrate as soon as I get to the top of the hill.
So my point is, it's fun, and it's fun at road speeds. That's all that really matters. An R1, a BMW S1000, you really can't use these days without a ticket going straight to jail. But what I have to say about this bike is, don't take it seriously. It is for a bit of fun. It is just to hoon around on, have a good time. But we're in a cost of living crisis, and this is a cheap little bike. So what if you were to take it seriously? Well, on that front, let's head back into town and talk about a few things in regards to using this every day. Bogans everywhere. Right, so let's set the scene. You're a student at what appears to be Hogwarts, and you've got to ride home. Cars are expensive, fuel's expensive, insurance is expensive. You've decided to go with this. How useful is it when you've got to go to school on one side of town and you live on the other? We've got single lane, dual lane, 80 k's an hour, uphill, downhill, traffic, the works. Let's find out. Not sponsored by Quadlock yet. Yeah! There's no doubt about one thing, you'll be the coolest looking kid in the car park until they start laughing at you. Right, first things first, is it comfortable enough to work every day? I think yes. I'm not terribly uncomfortable, I'm not terribly squished up, I'm not particularly tall, but I'm not particularly skinny either, and it's fine. Suspension's a little bit dopey, it can get a little bit bumpy, and you are a little bit leant forward on this particular version. As I say, there is a scramblery looking version as well, which if you were using it every day, that's exactly what I would have bought. But this one looks better, and that's basically all I went on. Now, while we're on the subject of people at school, the one thing that you would probably ask is this a good bike to learn on? Now, this is going to be controversial because it's the size of a scooter. It's got scooter wheels, it's got scooter horsepower. However, it has a 6-speed manual and a clutch, but a 30-inch seat height. And as you can see, I'm not exactly struggling to put my feet on the ground. So basically, yes, I think at a 30-inch seat height, enough horsepower to keep up with traffic, and enough comfort to ride every single day, this is an absolute beautiful little piece to learn how to ride on. Learn the fundamentals, and just get out and have a good time. Dual carriageway. Now this is where mini bikes get interesting, and they tend to split opinion a little bit. Now, it's a mini bike, it's in the name, it's not very big. And I have seen reviewers talk about how on a bike like this, you are more susceptible to not being noticed. Now, there's a couple of things that I believe on that. One, you could be on a gold wing and people won't notice you. You could be in a large truck and people won't notice you. But this bike has a 30-inch seat height. It has a 3-inch higher seat height than most Harleys. I believe you will be seen. I haven't had a problem since I bought this bike a few weeks ago, riding it around in traffic, of people pulling out in front of me and all of a sudden just being this invisible man with a Harry Potter cloak on. It's just not the case. Couple that with the fact that this bike is A, bright red, B, one of the best looking bikes that people have seen and they're usually too busy looking at it anyway, and C, it has LED everything, which again is a controversial thing. More lights, more scene. I don't particularly believe in that, but for a flicker in the mirror, definitely a better thing to have LEDs than to not. In traffic, next to normal cars, normal SUVs, I have had no issue being seen. One thing I'm not so game to test right this second is lane filtering. Now, in New South Wales and a lot of Australia, lane filtering is legal if the traffic's moving under 30 k's an hour and you are moving under 30 k's an hour. Realistically, as good of a concept as it is, I think you really should only do it in stopped or very, very slow moving traffic. People tend to be really unpredictable. That goes for motorcycles as well, but people in general tend to be really unpredictable. And on a bike, the best thing you can possibly do is be predictable, especially on something that a lot of people believe you won't be seen on. But that's not down to not being seen. That's due to a slight lack of horsepower. I just don't want to get in a situation where I filter through to the front, take off, and everyone around me is faster than I am. What you can counter that with, because obviously on a bike, you really don't want to pull up behind people. In a lot of instances, it's absolutely a death sentence. This bike's at most 2 foot wide at the handlebars. So what I've found to do is just basically split the side. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Just want to position yourself so those lovely little headlights are just in the mirror of the car in front, but you've got a whole lane for this next bloke in this FJ to rear end that Mustang, and hopefully I won't be a part of it. Let's try the horsepower aspect, shall we? Mustang! I just stuck on a 5 litre V8, are you kidding me? 9.5 horsepower at 8250 RPM, 7 Newton meters of torque. And what you'll notice in this 70 zone-ish is I'm absolutely keeping up with traffic. Haven't held anyone up behind me. It's fine. It's absolutely plenty. Woo. Potholes are not your friend. Okay, there's a Range Rover at the front, and I doubt he's going to go fast, so we're going to try going up the middle. Yes. Right, ready. We're going to need all 9 horsepower here. Go! Yeah! Also has a shift light. As the road starts to open up a bit, I want to talk about cost. Now, what you would think about this bike is it's absolutely the cheapest form of transportation that you can possibly muster in your own garage, and you'd be right. However, there are at least one elephant in the room. Now, as we saw earlier in the video, it costs about $9 to fill it from where the gauge at least says you should fill it from, with about a 2 litre reserve. So that's happy. You get about 130 Ks before you hit reserve. Realistically, you're looking at 150, 160 Ks at most with my frame on it. That's great. That's about as cheap as it gets. Insurance, I found in a country town, locked away, the insurance is about $200 a year. Again, excellent. Rego, I'm not quite sure on Rego, I'll have to check back with you on that, but you're looking at under $300 a year in New South Wales. And the one thing I was interested on is maintenance. Now, because this bike's only just come out in Australia in the last couple of months, CFMoto really couldn't give me any answers, so I did a bit of digging myself. Now, a usual service on something like this, there's no cool or anything like that, so it's just an oil filter change. Realistically, you're looking maybe 150, 160 bucks. I can't confirm that, it might be more, it might be less. One thing that CFMoto does let you do is, because their dealer network, especially in the country, is not massive, they let you service it with anyone qualified, a shop that's qualified, as long as they can stamp the book, and you will still have 2 years warranty. If you service it with CFMoto exclusively, then you get an extra year's warranty on top of that if you're the original owner. And I think that's great, because you're not voiding your warranty just because you don't want to take it 2.5 hours to Sydney. I think that's really good. Service intervals, first service is at 1,000 Ks, that's normal. Every other service, or oil service at least, interval is 5,000 Ks. Now that's what you'd expect. 5,000 Ks on this fella is a long way. The elephant in the room is the valves. Now, I looked in the book and I didn't quite believe it, so I did ring CFMoto in Sydney and got them to do a bit of digging. The valve service interval is every 2,500 Ks. 2 valve intervals per oil service. Okay, I get it, it's a little motor, but yeah, I don't know about that. I'm amazed at how well this sits at road speed. I mean, road speed's only 80 Ks an hour at the moment, but that's more than happy. It doesn't shimmy, it doesn't shake, the motor's smooth, there's no vibration through the handlebars, even though we're doing 7,200 RPM. It's great. It's not even particularly unstable. Now, I'm not saying you should use this on the highway, but if you have to, it's not as bad as you think. It's definitely not uncomfortable. I'm finding very little weight on my wrists, held up by the wind, the seat's not uncomfortable, I'm in a good position, got a little bend in my leg, but not a cramping level of bend. Oh, plastic bag, where are you going? Ah! Yeah, it is immensely nimble. Into the burbs. So, is it something that you can replace a superbike with? No. However, is it something that for not much money, you can put in your garage, you can have fun on weekends, have fun with your friends, and if you need to, in certain circumstances, justify owning it by using it every day? Absolutely. 100%. Keep it in your garage for not much money to own, justify it by riding it to work, letting your kids learn how to ride on it. It's just brilliant.
And to top it all off, for $175, it fits on a rack like this, behind your 5-star NCAP safety rated Volvo, and this little fella will come absolutely everywhere with you. You need more convincing? Like and subscribe.